I just emerged from the theater from seeing Oppenheimer, and I wanted to share with y'all my thoughts fresh from the experience. I I thought it was a great movie. That's my short review. I'll as for what more I can say about it. Again, this is just I'm just sort of collecting my thoughts at this point, but I just thought it'd be interesting to maybe not have a polished review, but since it's a very a very powerful and sensorily impactful kind of experience. I thought it might be interesting just to have a more just impressionistic take on it all, because it does have a visceral effect on the viewer. Now that said, it's a very talky, complicated, long. It's 3 hours, and very intellectual movie. So it's not when I talk about it being viscerally impactful, it's not what you would typically think of as that sort of thing. Usually, the viscerally impactful movie is the one that just is sort of immediate and in your face, and there's not a lot of who are these factions, who are these characters, there's so many people to keep track of here, which this movie is. It's very complicated and I would say even convoluted. I don't mean convoluted in a bad way. I mean I was entertained from start to finish. But it's like all Christopher Nolan movies. It's it's a think piece, and you don't see how all the puzzle pieces fit together, until it's over. And even when it's over, there's still some things left to the imagination, which is good. If Oliver Stone had made this movie, it would be far less morally ambiguous, and I say if Oliver Stone made this movie because I could see Oliver Stone making a movie like this, but it would be a far less interesting movie. There would be simple heroes, simple villains. Here there's a lot of. I think it's a movie that's very concerned with morality, and I think it does have a moral sense to it. Very much has a moral sense to it, but the characters in it are not all good or all bad. There really is no character in this movie who's all good or all bad, and that's part of what I think is what makes it great. Even during the showdown, which I'm not even going to attempt to get into right here. I'm not even going to try to explain everything that goes down, and who is on Oppenheimer's side and who is against Oppenheimer, and and the who and the why and the how and all of that. I'm not even gonna go into that right now, because this is just an impressionistic thing. But as I was saying, but I really do admire the movie for not making you, for basically refraining from being emotionally manipulative. Now, there are a lot of emotional moments. There are you know, moments that are incredibly emotionally impactful. But even those moments, they leave it to your imagination. There's I don't know how much detail I should get into or that I want to get into. But the moment where they first explode the bomb, I'm not giving anything away by saying that, because we know history. We know that the Los Alamos team was successful at creating an atom bomb. And so the moment where they put it to the test, and you see the explosion, and it's all silence, and you feel the emotion of the moment. You feel the simultaneous elation and joy that these people are feeling, that they've, this project that they've been working on, which seems, this incredibly important project in this war effort to defeat an aggressive and dangerous regime they're successful at it. And by dangerous regime, I'm talking about Japan here, because by the time they explode the bomb, Germany's out of the war. Germany's already lost. Germany has surrendered. So I know that some of you were frowning and making hissing noises at me when I said dangerous regime. But I'm not talking about Nazi Germany here. I'm talking about Imperial Japan. Anyway, they've had this successful moment, and you feel their elation, but then you also see what this means, the significance of this, and the consequences, what the consequences will be, which is huge loss of civilian life, essentially mass murder. But in the minds of some people, mass murder, the killing of thousands, tens of thousands of civilians is justified because the ends justify the means. I don't share that take at all in any way whatsoever. But you see in any case, you see the morally ambiguous response that they have to it, and with a character like Oppenheimer himself, played very well by Cillian Murphy. You see, one of many good performances, I should say. This movie is star-studded. There's like a ton of people show up, mostly guys, mostly male actors. With makeup, because they're playing older than I guess they are, or sometimes we're seeing them through many phases of their life, like with Oppenheimer himself. We don't first meet. It sort of goes all around. It jumps around a lot. So it's not what do you call it? It's not a linear narrative. I was trying to think of the fancy academic term to use. It's not it doesn't go directly from past to present to future. It jumps around from different times. But anyway, you see a lot of people show up, mostly guys, although gotta say Emily Blunt makes quite an impression, and also Florence Pugh makes even more of an impression, if you want to talk about seeing breasts. But anyway, both of those actresses also are contribute significantly. But this is mostly a man's world. And I should also say this is not a woke movie at all. There's no there's no token ahistorical token characters thrown in. Christopher Nolan doesn't play that shit. He's just not into that at all. I'm not saying he's like a conservative or a right winger or anything like that. I just don't think he. I think he wants to be historically accurate. So I think that the fact that even when there's these different showdowns taking place, which are all verbal jousting going on. These are like hearings that are being held. One of which involves Oppenheimer directly. One of which involves a colleague of Oppenheimer, who has a complicated relationship to him, and I don't want to give it away. But or give away what it is or what ultimately that relationship consists of. But in both cases, we see, even though I think we tend to sympathize with in certain ways and to not with certain characters and not to sympathize with other characters. Other times, that gets flipped on its head. And you see this, for example, the actor who plays O'Brien on Star Trek: The Next Generation shows up in a pivotal, powerful, pivotal role here as a sort of inquisitor, and most of the time he's really not very likable. He's arrogant. He's cocky. He's just smirking and it's like it's sort of the deck is stacked against him. But then at a very which I tend to hate. I tend to not like it when it's like, ooh, we're making you hate this character. We're gonna just load all these unlikable things on this character and make you hate him, because this is the emotional manipulation that they do that I just don't like, don't approve of. But at moments, especially at a particularly important moment, you start to see he's turning the tables on Oppenheimer. Where we're seeing, before that, we were seeing Oppenheimer as the good guy, as somebody who's being unfairly put upon, and then suddenly there's a moment where it turns, and it's like, yeah, O'Brien, Nasty O'Brien, I can't remember the character's name in the movie. He's actually making a good point here, and Oppenheimer's struggling with his answer because he knows he's being pinned down on this question. And the entire the whole notion of whether Oppenheimer behaved in a responsible way, with vis-a-vis trusting people who might not be loyal to the project and who might have actual Soviet ties, is it's like it's a very ambiguous matter because you can be loyal but still imprudent. And anyway, that all becomes, and I don't want to get too deep into that right now, and I don't want to this is not a spoiler kind of review, and the plot is way too complex. It would just get really dull if I were to try to sit here and explain everything, and everybody, and I don't think I'd be able to. Trust me, this is a very, very involved, intricate, as I said, convoluted, but not in a way that's annoying or confused. Like Tenet was convoluted in a bad way, in my mind. I think it was significantly flawed. Christopher Nolan's last film. I have mixed feelings about it generally, but that film I would say was convoluted in a way that was not that was not always compelling. This is convoluted in a way that is always compelling. Um, so it it's powerful, and I think the final twist, the final twist of the knife, as it were, involves a moment where there is an exchange between two characters, namely Oppenheimer and Einstein. And I have no idea whether this is historically accurate or not, whether this actually happened in history or if they just took liberties with it. But it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not looking at this film as a piece of history. You know, it's it's a biopic, but you know, I'm seeing it more as an interpretation, as an artistic rendering or a cinematic rendering of this character and this character and his the cast of people that surrounded him, and this moment in history and what it represents. So there's a moment where we don't see the exchange between the two of them, and it leads to a significant misunderstanding involving another character who walks up and who, when Einstein is walking past him, he sort of looks away as if he's disapproving of him. But what we find out later is that it didn't have anything to do with him. Their exchange actually had something to do with an issue that is well beyond, you know, this character and his ego, or anybody and their ego, you know. And it's like, did we really did we really win? Did the good guys really win at all? You know, was this entire idea of, you know, going into this line of research in which nuclear weapons were first created, was, you know, now we kind of think, ooh, we dodged a bullet, but maybe we didn't dodge a bullet. Maybe the bullet had just, you know, it just hasn't quite left the barrel of the gun yet and hit us in the forehead yet, but it's on its way. And that's the powerful impact of the very, you know, when it finally gets revealed what those two characters were saying to each other, you know, and that it ends on that note. It's like, it's kind of like, wow. I mean, I think I'm thinking back now, this might be my favorite Christopher Nolan movies, maybe since The Prestige. It reminds me a lot of The Prestige, because that was also a very complicated, convoluted film where you don't really know the truth about this, that, or the other thing. It's like a puzzle that you only see all the pieces fit together. That it only comes together at the very end. And it's like that movie in that it's also, you know, very, very much a think piece, but also packs an emotional wallop. Anyway, I would say see it and judge for yourself. But those are my thoughts. Those are my impressionistic thoughts on Oppie Baby. Thanks for watching.